Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, Kochecha, Asele, Man, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, Kochecha. Zelemancha, Zelemancha, Imloi lemanenu. Zelemancha, Zelemancha, Oichi Yeveleinu. Dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da da dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da 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 dee da dee da dee da 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 da. One more time. So we're holding now in this book, in the Uman Achai Re'ai book. We have just only two copies we could share around. Do your best. And it's we're on page 63. This, if I remember right, it was one of the first like hardcover books, if not the first, of Shlomo's Torah. It came out way back like in the 90s. This came out. It's a big Simchat at the time. Yeah, so it's published Tafshin Samich Gimel. It's like I think that no, this is Madura Shnia already. This is already second printing, which is 2003. The first printing was before 2000, pretty sure.
What's the old cover?
Moshe Dovid Kohen, what?
No, look at the old cover.
The old cover was like a darker cover. Yeah. But that's, I think, even the browner one that you've got. I don't think that's even actually Mamish the first. I think that before that it was like even anyway. Okay. So the Shlomo here, it's really good Torah for the 3 weeks. The Shlomo here is talking about is going to be talking a lot about the Holocaust. That's like our we're going to be delving into that right now. And how does Rav Shlomo relate to the Holocaust? What's the main nakuda that he takes out of it, at least for this particular teaching? We're going to see soon. I just want to jump right into his words, and then we'll jump out and talk more abstract and jump back in. If I forget the Jerusalem, I forget my right hand. Pam Mishu Sha'aloti, so Shlomo, one time somebody asked me, Im yesh makom echad ba'olam sheyesh bo maspik makom lichtov et kol shmot shisha hamilyonim. Is there somewhere in the world that has room to actually write all the names of the 6 million? Imagine what to make a monument. Imagine. It's Pashut, like I have a dear friend who was very probably like the closest student of Eli Wiesel, alav shalom. My friend Ariel Berger. He wrote a great book called Witness, and he told me that in the book he writes that Eli Wiesel said that if he would just recite the names, forget all 6 million, the 1 million children, if he would just say their names, he wouldn't live long enough to finish saying their name. It's crazy, you know. It's unbelievably gigantic, and just the proportions are beyond. And somebody once asked me, "Is there anyone in the world where you could write, just have their names all written out?" I think Yad Vashem, they've got a whole bunch of names. They have that huge. Right? Is it Mamish 6 million names? Is it anyway?
We don't have all of the names yet. We have about 3/4.
Yeah, right. They don't even have. They're missing like 1.5 million names.
They're missing
Yeah,
about 2 million.
about 2 million names. Wow, so sad. We don't even know the Mamish. It's beyond. So, so, so Shlomo says, "Hatshuva Rabotai." The answer, my friends, is me'od pshuta. It's very, very simple. Ha'im hitpalalta pam b'kotel hamaravi. Have you ever davened at the kotel, the Western Wall? Kol hashemot zoharim sham kezohar harakia. All the names are shining at the kotel like the shine of the sky, right? So, in saying this, that they're there, all the names are there at the kotel, he's already moving in, and we'll see more in a minute, to a concept of connectivity with these souls, with all of these souls. And later, at the end of this teaching, he speaks about how this is continuing, and we in our year, in this year of Tafshin Pei Dalet, it's mamish continuing. It's mamish. It's so heavy, Chaim. And he says, so the thing is, this idea that they're there at the kotel on the one hand is a churva, is a destroyed relic, and at the same time, it's our hope, it's our place of connectivity, right? So he's already hinting at a connection to them that is alive, a connection to them that is alive, just like going to the kotel is not just a commemorative act. Going to the kotel is a connective act. Going to the kotel, you come away from there a little. It could be sometimes a little, sometimes more, sometimes a ton. You got juiced. You get plugged in, right? Let's read this next paragraph. The pain of the 6 million is so infinite. I thought to myself, we could sit here and sing Nigunim for 10,000 years. And then maybe, ulai, maybe all of that together is worth like one moment of this pain. And here he's getting into his main thing, that I think why he brings the kotel in, and with our main theme for it's not just how many, it's totally mind-blowing. We are not the same because they're gone. We aren't the same people without them. I was talking to a friend of mine. I'm like, Baruch Hashem, getting some white in my beard and everything, and the people in their 20s and 30s, they're coming to me and we're talking, and I'm just being there with them, Forget what I say. I'm just like being there with them. When I was in my 20s, I was about Tshuva in Eretz Yisrael. There were almost no one in their 40s that could relate to me. Mamish, telling you, there was like teeny, a little bit, Rav Shalom was already stickle older than that, that thing of like somebody who's like 10 to 20 years down the line, didn't have it. Kimat didn't have it. Maybe because of the Holocaust,
It's like a mezzanine generation.
There's like,
it's not like a full generation. It's more like I call it a
mezzanine generation.
You think they're missing?
You're missing there's like a whole, there's like a whole slew of people who, like, let's say now should be in their mid 60s, early 70s, who would have been like the torchbearers of Hasidus, if the Piasetzner Rebbe had a Talmud to Muvhak and to continue Piasetzner, or whatever, all this Reb Shlomo, Reb Shalom's families, Reb Shalom brought whose house we're in now, Reb Shalom, his family's Rebbe was Jikov. They were Jikov Chassidim. They were 10,000 Jikov Chassidim. They all died. They're gone. There is no Jikov anymore. And there was an older Rebbe and a young, unbelievable rising star Rebbe at the time of the Holocaust. We lost him. That Rebbe, by the way, wrote a book about meditation. Have you ever seen this? Compassionate World or something like that? A while ago, people were getting into it. It's this whole meditation. It's like Rav Kook-ish type of a thing where you're like involving the whole world and like loving the whole world. It's just unbelievable. Like, who knows what directions Yiddishkeit, the colors and the shapes and the humanity and the music and everything that who knows what Yiddishkeit, like we lost a huge chunk, a huge chunk.
That's a whole generation.
That's a whole,
We talk about them as children because they'll, so to speak, they'll remain as children because that's how they perished. But that was a whole generation that it was just cut out of.
It's their generation and it's their students that we're missing now. Like
the generation though, it's like a blossom. It's like she was saying, it's like a blossoming world. We're flourishing.
They're flourishing.
In that generation, they cut us.
Yeah. We had to make, so it's this unbelievable thing. So Shlomo, I think that's the idea. We're not the same without them. And so Shlomo says, we need to kind of try to retrieve, and this is the main word, inherit from them. There's this whole thing in Torah called Yerusha. We had it last week's Parsha. The last two chapters of Masechta Bava Basra are all based in the psukim of last week's Parsha. The Benos Tzlafchad came and had their request, their about their father, who's going to have it at Tzlafchad's Chelik, and Moshe Rabbeinu said, okay, girls will, but he also said everything about how Yerusha works. It all came down in last week's Parsha. And Yerusha is like inheritance, or bequeathing, like the whole act of, what's that? Legacy. What's that? I know betrothed is, I think, to get married. It's like a kiddushin, right?
That's also part of it.
It's related, but bequeath is when someone dies, right? A parent or an older family member dies, and then you get from them. And sometimes it's not only older family members. There's a whole galaxy of halachas of how Yerusha works. What's really fascinating, I'm just speaking outside, we'll go back to Shlomo in a minute. What's really fascinating about it is it's a kinyan, it's a form of acquisition, right? That the Torah mandates. Nowadays, we're using wills, and Rav Moshe Feinstein said that like a written will works, Dina de Malchutha, and there's a whole tumult. Some people say you need a different special kind of a Torah will. Rav Moshe was okay with regular wills. In any case, were there to be no will written by the deceased, the Torah has a whole system of how it works. That's what these last two Prakim Bava Basra about, also about gifts they make on their deathbed and how that works, etc., etc. And the Torah's form of Yerusha, and really it's the same, it happens the same through a will as well. The children don't need to do an act of acquisition. Usually a kinyan, you have to pick it up, you have to pay for it, you have to sign a shtar, a document, what do they call it? A land, when you buy land, it's called a title, a deed, there's like, there are legal mechanisms. Maise Kinyan, it's called, an act of acquisition. We have this today in modern day as well. Like, when is it? When is the line? Like in the, this is from an old halacha book I was reading once a while back, that in the 1980s, I don't know how it works today, but when people would be talking on the phone on Wall Street, and they're buying and selling stock, and so you would say done in the phone call, and they would be recording the conversation, and it's say exactly what time of day it was, and at the price that the stock was precisely then. That's how you would get it, right? And this is like a very legal, as much as it's just like a phone conversation, but saying the word done, but it made the kinyan at that precise moment in time, right? So usually kinyanim have a human involvement, almost pretty much, basically always, except Yerusha. Yerusha, the parent dies, Hashem puts it in the child's property. It becomes part of your estate. How? Shamayim does. Hiknu lecha min hashamayim. It's a kinyan min hashamayim. That's this very special kinyan of Yerusha. And so let's go back into Shlomo. And also the Mishnah says in Baba Basra, Pinok ben Yomo Yoresh umorish, that in order for what's also a standout thing about how it works is you don't have to be conscious, you don't even have to be bar mitzvah, you don't even have to have had your bris. A 1-day-old baby inherits and bequeaths. If, let's say, I'm very bad at the family graphs that goes along with math. It all falls apart in my mind. But but if there would be a case where the baby is the first in line to inherit, and the baby's 1 day old, the baby inherits. If the baby chas v'shalom dies the next day, then the baby bequeaths it to the next in line to inherit. Now that's a pele. Obviously, Shamayim is doing it. The baby is like gaga gugu, not even gaga gugu. The baby is like 1 day old, right? Afal pichein, this kinyan of Yerusha goes both ways, to the baby and from the baby. This is unique in halacha. It's one of the very, very few things that Tinok ben Yomo is already participating in halachic processes. Very, very few, maybe the only one. Chaim. You don't need consciousness to receive. You don't need consciousness to bequeath, right? And it's really heaven doing it. So this is just like the halachic backdrop to understand what Rav Shlomo is talking about in terms of what does it mean to inherit from our ancestors that we've never met, right? A lack of consciousness is not a barrier, right? Even if we don't know who they are, we don't know their name, and we're going to learn. Someone's going to give a few stories that are going to help us open up, and just the way he speaks about it. Go back inside, he says, once again, he says, it's not just about how many. It's mind-blowing. We're not the same without them. And so our avoda is to try to somehow integrate as much of their essence and what they were bequeathing to us as we can. And obviously we're not talking about physical estate. We're talking about the Yiddishkeit, the perseverance, the simcha, the strivings, the commitment, and so on that they had, right? And this is going to be someone's main take on this. Is our job is to inherit from them, not to turn away, not to just, right, but to mamish, make it alive. That's like when he's saying you can go to the kotel and connect with them, because it's not just about a monument to them. It's so much deeper. It's not just about a place where I could finally find a place to write all their names. It's what they were about, right? And this is a really big thing. And before we go back to this, one more little thing about this is there's a Gemara in Chulin. I didn't open it today, but I don't remember what page it is, but there's a Gemara in Chulin that says, Chayav Adam l'shanos b'lashon rabo. It's very important that when your Rebbe or your teacher gives over, and it's also what we're doing, we're learning Shlomo's exact language. when a Rebbe or teacher gives over something to you, it's important to remember the exact words they use and use them. And the idea being in the Mefarshim are explaining this, and I spoke it over once in my Rosh Hashanah in Montreal, that it's an analogy to like an electric circuit, right? In order to screw the light bulb in today, it has to go in and connect up with the previous generation. You can't just like skip back and say, like this is unfortunately this is kind of going on in some like academic, more kind of I don't know exactly what to call it. Like there are people who have tried to do that over the generations and in our generation as well, to sort of say like, oh well, I like this idea what someone said once over here in the 16th century, and this idea of and they sort of create this Frankenstein Judaism you've got to be connected to like the kugel and the gefilte fish, even if you want sushi, you have to have that kesher. You've got to know about it at least. It's got to be. It doesn't work otherwise. Like the light to go on, like you've got, and we are connected to. We're already 2 generations away or 3 from that generation that died in the Holocaust, but it's caused major denial in a certain way. Not that everybody's the Holocaust deniers, but I'm saying, but we sort of shove it out of our conscience. It's not easy to think. It's not an easy thing to think about. It's really not an easy thing. And Shlomo is saying that you've got to inherit from them. It's not just about monumenting and crying about them and so on. It's receiving from them, and you still can, right? And this is real. This happened to our families. This is healing. This is just facing it, And what's beautiful about it is that it's not just facing it and crying, it's facing it and receiving and getting energized, getting more pep in our step, tuning in and getting hopeful and energy, as much as it's such a crazy thing to face. Right? Let's read a little further in here. He says, we're not the same thing without them, so we've got to try as much as we can to have them be with us, so that we can fix that synaptic gap, so that the spark can get across to us, right? And the light can go on, right? He says, Atem yodim, lifamim abba o ima niftarim. Sometimes a mother or father passes away. The children, they inherit all of their property. They continue the family business. That's how the world goes. In the outside world, there's always something. The parent leaves over something, even if they weren't like they were super wealthy, there's $100 in the bank. There's something. That the children receive after the parents leave the world. The father has a little money in the bank. In the Swiss account, whatever. And they pass on. They bequeath it to their offspring. We're not talking about that kind of inheritance, right? We're talking about mamish, a spiritual inheritance. So here Shlomo is speaking about it. Etzleinu biyadut bayas in Yiddishkeit. Really, parents are already bequeathing to their kids while they're alive, every moment. They're passing on. What it means, how deep it is. Like it means to be a yid. Yeah.
It's like active bestowing.
Masora. Yeah. Right? It's like giving over, passing it on, right? and particularly from parents to children he's speaking about. When did my father bequeath Shabbos to Misa Shlomo? It's not like when he died, right? It was every Shabbos, all the time, right? B'chol Shabbat she'eti, it's every Shabbos I was with him. Yarashti Mimenu to Shabbos, I was inheriting Shabbos. Yam Yarashti Shabbos, my grandfather, my grandmother. You can't say about the 6 million that they are gone from us. Who's more with us than them? They're so with us. But not just that they're with us. What they're bequeathing, there's this whole, Shlomo is sensing, and I really sense this, particularly the few days after October 7th this year. I felt our ancestors are very close. It was like Shemayim just went like right here. Yeah.
3 years before the
Founding a, yeah. Yes. I'm sure. Yes. I'm sure you were a comfort. Yeah, very much. Unbelievable. So the thing is, right, so what happens, you have this, like Shlomo's talking about, is trying to receive from them this incredible depth of connectivity with Hashem. Is going to give us some amazing stories in a minute. Unfortunately, what happens in the world, in Jewish communities, often, is that there's this woundedness that we carry around like a badge. We've been hurt, and the whole kind of March of the Living thing, which, okay, I'm not knocking the whole thing, it's all beautiful, but for kids, it's hard, like, to say to them kind of in a certain kind of, not exactly saying it outright, but sort of saying, you should be Jewish because a lot of people died. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's not so appealing to a kid. Like, I want some positive, we were like, we married, what am I living for? And this is something that I just want to connect up that in Parshat Tazria, we have these forms of tzarat that develop over a wound. Shchin, if a person gets boils, or a person gets a burn, and then they get tzarat on the wound. Very interesting. Like, on the one hand, tzarat is about pridefulness, which is usually not something we relate to woundedness. But sometimes the woundedness turns into something that is not life-affirming. You're sort of so proud of your woundedness, and you're kind of walking around, look at my wound,
Scarred.
You're scarred, and oy oy oy, and och and vey, and there's a certain kind of a tzarat that is a different kind of tzarat that comes on wounds. It's very fascinating. Again, I'm all for therapy. I'm in therapy, and therapy. We all need to heal, but sometimes, sometimes if there's a bad dynamic, I've seen this one a few times, like where the therapist just keeps on saying, "Yeah, you're so wounded, man. I'm so wounded. Yeah, are you wounded? Oh man, I'm so wounded." And you just keep paying $200 a week, and you're just like identifying with the wound, And there's never like the neshama underneath who's like has things to do in the world, and okay, it hurt. Let's move on, kind of thing. So like there's this whole like national woundedness, Holocaust identity that I want to emphasize how much Shlomo's talking about something different than that. It's not about the pain. Yes, the pain and it's so unimaginable and so beyond, and to try to somehow to feel it, to connect it. But most importantly, we have to try to inherit from them because they're with us and they want us. Those neshamas want to know that their lives are still linked in the chain, that they're linked to us. And it's really important that we don't do either. We don't just go into the denial and sort of pretend it didn't happen, and we also don't go into the overly wounded place and say, and then that also turns into this puffed up military stance on Israel, etc. Like, so now they'll never get us. And we've got to go to this ruchani place to receive from them the depth that they were carrying. And that's the only way, really, for us to really have a living Yiddishkeit. It's painful, but we've got to go there. And so these stories are so important. He's going to tell us. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
I'm a psychiatrist. The last time I practiced was over 40 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Because I had a number of back operations.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, in health promoting therapy,
Yeah.
you must emphasize the strength.
Yes.
not
Amen.
the trauma.
Right.
This is what helps people
Yeah.
to internalize
Amen.
that they can overcome
Yeah.
problems.
Yeah. Somehow, anyway, I agree with you fully. I wish it was more done like that. We need,
of Jewish people.
Yeah.
We're ultimate survivors.
Absolutely.
in
Absolutely.
Humanity. We and the Chinese, with the Chinese have different plans.
So we eat their food.
We have lived
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of years, and with the guidance of Torah.
Yes. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so back into page 64, second paragraph. So this is now a very, very famous story that you may have heard before from Shlomo. But he told it in this context. This is not a thank you all for coming, Shlomo. I know this is not a political gathering. This is politi. I know we're political, politics. We came here to receive more vessels, to strengthen our vessels to be able to receive from the Holocaust generation, right? Gewalt. In order to inherit tzat yoter, a little more of what they left us. Et mashahem hishiru lanu. Shabbat, our Shabbos should look different. Our Shabbos, it can be so much more 3D, so much more nuanced, so much more layered and profound. When it's a Shabbos that is continuing their Shabbos, right? Yahadut a whole different Yiddishkeit. Mamish habeyoter kedusha, so much more holiness, habeyoter omek, so much more depths. Hasipur about dod shelach. So Shlomo, I don't know where he was at this time, but he was sitting. What's an achyan? Is a niece? Achyanit is a niece. So he was sitting in this gathering. Was the niece of the Rebbe of Kopichnitz, okay, and who was the brother of Moshe Lagut Shabbos that we're about to hear about. So Moshe Lagut Shabbos is, sister, survived the war, and they were descendants of the house of Rizhin, who. Rabbi Yisrael Rizhiner, who used to go in a golden carriage with 4 white stallions. Yeah, this Malchus is an unbelievable Rebbe, and yet he didn't enjoy any of it. He was like, it was like above, really beyond. Malchus, a Rebbe of Malchus, and Rabbi Yisrael Rizhiner was descended from David HaMelech from all 4 grandparents, and directly from him came Moshe Lagut Shabbos, and the Kopichnitzer Rebbe was the uncle of Moshe Lagut Shabbos and this. I don't think we have her name here. The niece, the sister who was with Shlomo at the time he was giving over. The Kopichnitzer Rebbe, the uncle of Moshe, was a good friend of Shlomo's father, Rabbi Naftali Carlebach. Okay. He says, this story is about your, it says cousin. What's his achiv? Oh, now I'm confused. Oh, okay, now I am, excuse me. This is the niece that he's talking to. Her uncle was a Kopichnitzer. His brother was Moshe Lagut Shabbos. Sorry, this is not the sister of Moshe Lagut Shabbos. It's the niece of Moshe. Okay. Not for some reason the family thing is going, okay. I'm learning Yavamas all over again. Ani lo yodea im at makirat hasipur. Because I don't know if you've heard the story. He's telling her about her own uncle. Atem yodim שהמשפחה שלי הייתה גרה בעיר Vienna שבאוסטריה. Our family lived in Vienna, Austria. ועזבנו in 1939. We left in 1939 to go to America. That's like skin of your teeth. 1939 was not, they Shlomo made it up. At that time, Jews were not allowed to freely walk on the streets in Vienna. Not allowed to walk freely on the streets of Vienna at that time, in 1939. Whoever was walking around, they would disappear. We had a Shabbos morning minyan in our house. His father was a Rav. He was the Rav of the city. He was the Rav of the city of Vienna, Rav Shlomo's father. Excuse me. We get there 6 in the morning. We daven a quick davening. Finish it by 8. So people could just like scurry home before there are too many people on the streets and before we get dangerous to walk around. Ani, me and my brother, Shlomo had a twin brother. My brother and I, Elichaim, we were little children at the time. You know that like if you don't see anybody new all week, it's like so exciting. So you have a great desire to see new people, especially when you're little. We get up super early in the morning. We were waiting by the door. Who's going to come over? For all the people coming to daven. Right. They would come, they'd knock on the door, and we'd open the door, close it as fast as we can, right? One Shabbos morning, Shlomo, this is like a life-changing Shabbos for Shlomo. This might have been the highest Shabbos in my life, Shlomo says. I heard it knock on the door, and I went to open the door. I see this holy Yid. And by the way, I'm reading it from the book because Reb Shalom wanted us to learn from the book, but you can find the story, Shlomo telling the story on YouTube and watch it, hear it. Lo gavah miyuchad, not very tall, in peot erukot, long payas and a short beard, like a wispy, people, some beards, like my beard is very thick, like I have like a gorilla beard, like some people have like really, really, I shouldn't have said that, but some people have like, not so much hair grows on their cheeks. It just doesn't grow so much, and it's sort of like just like a little beard. That was the way that the beards of the Rebbes of Radzin, of Rizhin, were. Maybe David HaMelech had a beard like that. Who knows? We have a picture of Moshe L'Gud Shabbos. You can search for it. They found a picture of him, and he looks just like this. Is an unbelievable, just royal face, and with this wispy beard, looks just like this. And these eyes that are just, oh my God. Anyway, so long pace, short beard. Everyone knows the grandchildren of so Rishnu have small beards. Oh, it's wrote that Shlomo HaMelech had a small beard. As soon as Shlomo opened the door, this is it. This is like changed Shlomo's life. He opened the door, and what did the Yid say? Good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. So you walked in just good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Hey, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Unbelievable. Shlomo hears this, right? He's like a little kid. Yeah. Can you imagine? Like, he just breathed it in. Like, just got ruach, mamish put into him. Changed Shlomo's life, mamish. She wouldn't stop singing. Right to Shlomo could see he wasn't afraid of anything. Ro'im alav malchut. You could see on this person royalty. You know what a true king is? Mishu shemamash lo mefached me'af echad, somebody who's not afraid of anything. This, by the way, is the pshat of the very first seif in Shulchan Aruch. What does it say? Yizgaber ka'ari lakum b'boker. What does that mean, to wake up like a lion? Doesn't mean to wake up and roar. You could see a video of how lions don't wake up with such a roar. It means to wake up with no fear. Wake up into this world with no fear. The real royalty. And the Taz, the first Taz in Shulchan Aruch, he says that you're not afraid even of your own Yetzer Hara. Af shehu takif mimenu, even though you know the Yetzer Hara might be stronger than you. Why? Because you've got Hashem. You're a prince, you're a princess. Not afraid of this world. Yeah.
That's the last sentence in I don't know love.
Mm.
The Lord is with me.
Right. Hashem li v'lo yira. Exactly. So Shlomo, I feel that, if I may say such a thing, Shlomo was magnetically attracted to authentic people and authenticity, and where it was like through and through 100% the real thing. His nigunim have that, his Torahs have that, and when he saw this Yid, it blew his mind, changed his life, and with the nigun, and this person who's just, everybody's afraid to walk in the streets, and he's like singing, he's just like, truly unafraid of anything. And so he was just wandering around the room, singing the whole time, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. And he turned to me, and he asked me, Toch K'dei Nigun, what is your name? Gewalt, Kamahu Zahar, how much was he shining? Which Shlomo was like this kid, like, listening to this guy says, what is your name? And I answered to him with this nigun, my name is Shlomo. And Shlomo just went right in, What is your name? What's your name? And my name is Moisele. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Unbelievable. The minion started. When he learned to lagid mashilatov, not say anything bad, but whenever Shlomo not say anything bad, but it says, again, it was before. Everyone's scared. They want to get home. They're worried to be on the streets too late. So the shliach tzibur is davening a quick shachris. We know that when at the end of Sukkot Zimmer, there's a special prayer of Nishma, the soul of all living beings. Well, it's unbelievably gorgeous. We say it only on Shabbos and Yontif. It's one of the deepest prayers of Shabbos. Our soul is praising the King of all worlds. When we got to Nishmas, and Moshel is like, feeling, kind of asphyxiated by this too fast davening. He couldn't handle it anymore. The Holy Moshel couldn't handle it anymore. He turned to the Shibor and he says, he starts talking in the middle of davening. Let's be lot and the prayers are supposed to go up, and you're bringing them down. And he says, I'll never ever forget it. He said, maybe this is our last Shabbos on earth. Is this the way to daven nishmas, your last nishmas on earth? Right? Whew. Not that he was out to lunch and just like this space cadet singing. He knew exactly the danger. He knew exactly what was going on. But Adarabba, now we got to really mamish, let it all hang out. Now's the time to have a full-on Shabbos davening.
Really kind of, I guess we feel it very keenly this year also.
Yeah.
Fear sucks in more ways than one.
That's what terrorism.
Fear doesn't just suck oh wow, it really, it literally sucks. It also paralyzes your ability to live concurrent with being aware of the peril and the danger. So it's not like if he this person, this neshama, this guy is so in touch with the reality that it's so this is how we're gonna go out. This is gonna be our last davening, and we're just gonna in addition to the real risk out there, we're gonna suck the life out of our own
Right.
experience it with, you know, because of the fear.
Right.
So it's like that. So
Awesome.
it's such a it's such a
It's a lot to tell
it's
us.
such like a wretched thing, you know. It's such a
It's
wretched
like
thing.
coming to it,
Yeah.
like getting into it.
Yeah, it's such a wretched thing because in addition to the real risk, which he was not, as you say, he wasn't tuned out.
Unaware of it.
He wasn't like naive or oblivious to. He was very much in touch with it. But it's
Yeah.
like, and then on top of that, we're gonna deprive ourselves of the quality of our own experience because
Right.
we're all we're gonna let ourselves be paralyzed by the imminence, the immediacy of the fear. It just sucks, you know.
It
So wretched.
sucks the energy out 100%. 100%.
I feel like this
it's-
year also, I mean, we felt it here because this year we are getting like you know, right afterwards, it's like spiritual Holocaust redux of like
Yeah.
all these traumas flooding down.
all the traumas.
Yeah,
I think it's even like the opposite. The people that were like rushing through it, they're holding on to saying, okay, we just get through it, get home, and next Shabbos will do better. Next
One
Shabbos,
day, right?
But they're
Whereas-
living
whereas
in more of a
now?
naive world of like
Mm.
holding on to, they don't know it tomorrow, they're not thinking about it.
interesting.
Mm.
So
So
this
this
guy
guy was more
they
in
touch with
it,
reality.
exactly.
Oh.
They're the ones
To
who
take
are not.
advantage of the reality versus like
Mm.
tomorrow will be a new day.
Very strong. Yeah, thank you, Avital. I'm just going to repeat it for the people on the Zoom. I think it probably the computer picked up. Ellie, were you able to hear? Oh, he's I don't know if people were able to hear you. I think you'll be able to hear you. Hopefully. But any case, what Avital was just saying was in a way to keep davening fast for the sake of next Shabbos and maybe one day sometime later. That's maybe naive, as opposed to okay, be in it now and realize there's other Rabba. Now I can daven to Hashem with my whole soul, dafka now, and be aware the danger is real. And so therefore, if it's my last Shabbos, it's going to be mamish my last Shabbos, you know, and I'm going to go all out. And Shlomo, I think this really put a lot. Shlomo, part of what made him able to do everything he did is not to care about, you know, to be, you know, he really created a whole genre of his own. He created a whole kind of way of talking. He created a whole, I don't know if kumzitzes existed before Shlomo, you know, like he changed Kabbalah Shabbos forever and ever for like everybody. I mean, like he just brought in Paris. And you have to be fearless to do that. If you're concerned what people are going to think, or you want to fit in, or there's different degrees of like fear, mamish, of like terrorist fear, or Nazi fear, or but even just like smaller fears of different kinds, you know, like to wear your malchus, to really be this lion. And Shlomo also was a descendant of David HaMelech.
Carlebach?
Yeah. So he was Shlomo HaMelech was. Shlomo Carlebach, right? Yeah. So right. So yeah, there's a lot for us to take from this. And this is really what terrorism is, right? That they do one thing to a certain amount of people, and each thing is a horrible tragedy. But what they're trying to do is get millions to lose their energy, to suck out their energy. Because saying terrorism sucks, right? Sucking out the mamash, literally, and we have to be so strong to live davka now. Like, and this is something mamish take from Moshe. This is Shlomo's trying to. The purpose of the story was not just wow, there was a guy Shlomo, there was a guy Moshe. The purpose of this story is, I want you to inherit. And what's so profound also about this, which Shlomo, he says this out later, and we'll probably continue this. I'm sure we'll continue this next week. It's already 2:30. He says, you know, I want to be, by telling you these stories, I'm trying to be the vessel for the inheritance to come through. What's so powerful about that is that inheritance has no vessel. Inheritance is God does it, right? And yet, you know, there needs to be an executor of the estate. If you never know about it, then it can't reach you. To bring it into your consciousness, and then it's really Hashem. So just hearing these stories and with an openness that Hashem should bequeath it to us, that Hashem should bridge that gap from generation to generation. And so powerful. This is something for us, for our own selves and for our friends or for our families, when we telling over their stories when we're and other stories, and when we're tuning into this, we're like he said before, we're making vessels to receive the heavenly kinyan, the heavenly acquisition of spirit and energy, ruach, from the previous generation. So Moshe took the Amud, right? It says, this is our last nishma. I'm going to at least finish the story. So he took the Amud, right? And he starts singing Nishmas Kol Chai Tevarech Shimcha Hashem Elokeinu. He sings the same niggun. And Shlomo sometimes would sing it Nishmas to that niggun also. The whole davening was this niggun. Kol Tefillah Kula who's was mamish singing this niggun amyuchad, this special thing that was his Indian, his niggun. Who mamish hotzi otanu misham lo macher. He brought us out from there to a whole other world. Af echad kvar lo yistakel she'on mamish. Nobody's looking at their watch anymore, just like davening, We didn't finish them until at least 11:30. Like they started at 6, with at least like 4.5 hours long. And Shlomo, by the way, would do that. He would do Kabbalah Shabbos sometimes till like 2 or 3 in the morning. And Dulachem Rav Moshe HaKadosh Mamash Inali Safraim said, I want you to know that this Heilige Rav Moshe Mamash changed my life. Right? Mamash changed my life. Lachar Tefillah Shachris Ima Sheli Hevia K'tzat Ugot B'Kiddush after Kiddush. My mother brought out some cakes for Kiddush. Obviously, all the windows were closed, right? And everything was dark, like, hiding out, Reminds me of Corona when we had this like Torah class. That's when we started the Purim Shir. It was during Corona. And we're learning, we're worried the police would literally bust us for getting together to learn Torah. So we're getting together, no, the Torah. No one should see us from outside. Moshe says, Kshani Mekadesh, if someone, Moshe said, when I make Kiddush, I need the windows open. Mamo, wait till you hear the whole thing. This is just beyond. I need the whole word to hear. And in some versions of the story, you can hear it on YouTube. He says, I want to make sure that Uncle Esav, he said, Uncle Esav, I want Uncle Esav to hear Shabbos. Maybe he'll remember. Maybe he'll come home. Right? Uncle Esav. He's thinking about it in Vienna, 1939. The people in the street, they want to kill us. He answered and he said, oh, here he said it. Zech, and he says, and what he answered, Mamash was totally beyond my vessel, Shlomo. Zecherut, amok, it got engraved deep within me, Shlomo says. Here's this person just bigger than the world, just bigger, larger than life kind of a thing. This is the Uncle Esav thing. I said it too early. Sorry. They are the children of Esav. Let me just turn off my phone, sorry. They are the children of Esav. Shahaya ben Yitzchak. Esav is the child of Yitzchak and Rivka. But you know what happened? He forgot that there's Shabbos in the world. If I could just remind them, Shabbos Kodesh, that the Holy Shabbos exists. For sure they'll stop hating us. Maybe our uncle Esav. Maybe just remember Shabbos, maybe he would change his ways. Dulachem, you should know he davened Musaf and he stayed with us the whole Shabbos and they opened the windows for Kiddush. He told us in every corner of the street there are big signs with his picture on it. Im tmunat dukno, al shlatim ha'katuv, zeh ha'oyev mispar echad shel ha'Fuhrer. This is the number one enemy of the Fuhrer. Is this yid, this picture, his picture. Vehitziu pras. They put out a prize of 100,000 shilling, 100,000 shillings for anybody who'll bring him in. I'll show him. Yeah, for Moishel. They hated him because he was like such a proud. Why was he the public enemy number one? It's like Harry Potter, you know. Ketem Yodim, undesirable number one. Ketem Yodim, Kama Meot, Ve'alfei Yodim nechtefu brachavot. You know how many hundreds of Jews were just grabbed from the streets. They wouldn't come home at all. As he would go around late at night, and he'd bring food to their wives of the disappeared husbands. And their children, too afraid to walk out, and they lost their Abba. One time they caught him, and somehow he managed to escape. He says now, he only goes around at night. I don't know how he managed to do it. He says, I'm going to come by one last time, Wednesday night. And he's going to knock, he's going to knock 7 times in honor of Shabbos Kodesh. 7. Shlomo says, you should know, Moshe is my Rebbe forever now. And on Thursday night, on Wednesday night, we couldn't fall asleep, but exactly 4 a.m. 7 knocks. Many people, they only say good Shabbos on Shabbos, right? How did Shlomo get it? Like all the Shlomo Chevra, we always say good Shabbos all the time, right? So Saturday night, you're saying good Shabbos. He says, he was already holding on the Yom Shekulo Shabbos, that Shabo Ein Havdalah, when the Shabbos never ends, Patachna, that we open the door, Moshe was lying there, mamash filled with joy, filled with simcha, Ve'itchil Asher, good Shabbos, and Thursday 4 a.m., right? Wednesday, whatever. Zoya Pam Achrona Shvita, till this last time I saw him, Ki Azavnu at Vienna, Venesan America, we traveled to America. Yadati Sheyesh Lo Shnei Eladim, I knew he had 2 children, V'yoti V'zel Yadati, more than I didn't know. He says, Tedu Shani V'achi, Lo Pasachnu Lashir Tanigun, me and my twin brother, we never stopped singing this nigun. All the Chaver were all singing this nigun. Shabbos, all the holy wives, they sing like when they had Likner. Baruch Atah Hashem. Right? He says, now 10 years ago, I'm just going to translate straight into English just because time is, it's getting late, but I want to finish the story. Just 10 years ago, I was walking around on Ben Yehuda Street in Tel Aviv. And so a Yid came over to me and said, are you Shlomo Carlebach from Vienna? And I said, yes. He said, do you remember Moishele? And someone says, do you know how many Moisheles I know? I don't know why, but somehow I said to him suddenly, you mean Moishele Good Shabbos? And I thought to myself, maybe he's still alive. Maybe he's like somewhere in Bnei Brak or whatever. And the Yid said, why did you suddenly think of Shlomo Good Shabbos, Moishele Good Shabbos? You really want to know what happened to him in the end? He said, come with me down to the beach. We went down to the beach at twilight. It was clear to me that he wanted to tell me something heavy. He suddenly just started crying in the depths of his heart, and began to say, you know what happened? Moishele got fake passports for him and his whole family to England, and from there to Eretz Yisrael. And he was sitting on the train, leaving Vienna. They were on the train. Such a unbelievable story. In the corner was his wife and his 2 kids. And I sat right next to him. And Mamish wouldn't stop singing the whole time. And his wife says, please, Moishele, come on, let's wait until at least we leave. We get over the border out of Austria. The train starts going. In the beginning, the train goes very slow, especially back then. So it starts off going very slowly. Which is, I have to say good Shabbos one last time. And Shlomo says, of course, everything is from heaven. He opened the window and he said, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Oh, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. The train was going really slow. And one of the guards recognized him. And I don't know how to say this next sentence. But he was beaten to death in front of his wife and kids. And this Yid said, I swear to you, this Yid was there when it happened. He said, I swear to you, he didn't stop singing Good Shabbos, the whole time till his last breath. Okay, the story doesn't end there, right? Reb Meisele was the younger brother of the Kopichnitzer Rebbe, right? Your uncle, he's talking to the niece, right? What can I tell you? All my life, I'm singing Good Shabbos and Nishmas with his nigun, but it's not the end of the story. A number of years ago, I was invited to appear to sing at a bar mitzvah in Manchester, England. I traveled from Tel Aviv on Friday morning, and in London, we're supposed to go from London to Manchester. But while we're sitting on the plane, they told us that there's a big strike in London, and so there's a 14-hour delay. And we're going to have to land in Zurich and not be able to land in Heathrow. Next to me sat this Yid, and I said to him, I have to be in Manchester on Sunday at 2 p.m. for the bar mitzvah. And he said, well, what I suggest you do is you fly to Belgium, and on Sunday morning, there's a quick boat that will take you to Manchester. And so I did what he said, and I got to Antwerp. And I was wandering around in the Jewish neighborhood, and there was some macher there, invited me over to eat. Well, I'm talking to him, a young man comes by, and his face was mamish, shining, happy. Atzilot means like aristocratic, royal. And he looked mamish familiar, but I didn't ask his name. He saw me, he was happy, he invited me to eat with Shabbos Kodesh. I said, I'm sorry, I'm invited already. But if I make him love a malka, I'll invite him. And I asked the macher, who is he? And he said, oh, you don't know? That's the son of Moshe Lukat Shabbos. Unbelievable. They even in Antwerp, they remember the Moshe Lukat Shabbos. And I asked the father, and I remembered his father, Moshe. I remember that he told me he had a son named Lazer. And how he looked like his father is unbelievable. Like all the grandchildren with a small beard and everything. So Mava Malka, Lazer comes to this Mava Malka, and I said, do you know your father's niggun? And he said, I was too young. I was such a little boy. I never learned it. I said, Lazer, you know what? It's clear to me that the strike at Heathrow Airport was just so that I would come to Antwerp. And again, what's Shlomo doing? He's the vessel for the inheritance of the niggun, right? That's what's going on, right? This is Shlomo's Holocaust theology, right? Be a vessel for the inheritance. Receive the inheritance. Search it out. That's the way you can light up with the infinite energy of Klal Yisrael through them, within them, with all the pain.
Find you get from Jared.
Mamish, right? Who I nireli say so Adam Lava Malka, right? And Nebuch, right? So I taught him the niggun, and there was not a dry eye in the house, right? Everyone just gevalt. Imagine how meaningful it was. What is chus it was to pass over to him what his father had left for him. It's Hashem should be Zaycha, to inherit, to bequeath, to be part of that divine process of this spiritual inheritance. Time to find. If you have any questions or thoughts before we okay.
I guess I was thinking of
Yeah.
the inheritance and bequeath thing, especially because we talk about a child who's not conscious. About
Yeah.
We don't even realize in our conversations with people what we're either giving over or what that person could be giving to us.
Right.
So in every conversation, it's not just like a baby inheriting, but like every conversation, you don't know how you're helping someone or how that person's helping you unconsciously, like a baby's unconscious.
There's like this other tier of communication and energy that's being shared, that's going on. Like the words are just holding bigger things from the previous generation.
Yeah. Opens the kind of conversation. The person heard it, you just could have changed their life, and they just inherited a whole new world. But it was something you said without even realizing that you're actually being passed. You had inherited a bequeath that way.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing thought.
Also, we were
Yeah.
talking about the song over Shabbos because we were talking about Pinchas being a Kanai.
And we were like trying to think about when our generation, who we would think they're working on, and I always thought that because he was started as a rebel with a cause. So that
And
makes
that's a
him
good thing. Yeah. Just do what's right. Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, I was down reading that. When he was making the transition from Iron Cutler to Leibish Rebbe, and it was like it's all good that I have this knowledge, but it's one thing to have the knowledge and it's one thing to share the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why he felt like
The learning
like
that he did in Lakewood
was learning,
was a deep
and
receiving,
scholar.
and then in Lubavitch you learned
Leibish was gifted.
the broadcast, right?
So that's what they did.
You got the two halves of how, yeah, the Yiddishkeit, the receiving and the giving, the Risha and the Hoy Russia, yeah, no, even Yoresh or Morish, yeah, it's a shame. Amazing. Okay, Chaver, good Shabbat Tov. Thanks so much for coming. Chaim.
Shabbos is on.
2 Shabbos.